fans, our festivities here in the state of Indiana continues with the Xfinity Series here at the Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for the running of the Pennzoil 250. It is our 13th outing of the WRLA Xfinity Series season, and my goodness gracious, we're going to bring it all to you on this fantastic Friday evening here in the state of Indiana. Hello, everybody. As always, I'm Elijah Leonard here with you to bring you the action from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It has been an absolutely amazing time that we've had here in the state of Indiana. For those that were not with us, beginning back on Wednesday, we had the WRLA Hoosier Summer Tour at the Anderson Speedway that saw Wyatt Walker win in very dominating fashion. He inserted himself into the championship conversation when we got after Anderson Speedway. But now here we are. As far as, for Truck Series competition, last night we had Wayne Lopez nab his second win of the season at IRP, and now we're getting ready for the main course with WRLA Xfinity Series racing from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just making sure that ticker is saved up and ready to go for tonight's festivities. We've been using that ticker quite a bit here for the WRLA, and it's been kind of a hit with some of the festivities that we've had, especially when we debuted it at Anderson Speedway, and that's definitely a pretty good addition. We're definitely going to be keeping that for quite a while here. But with that said, for those that were not with us last week, the last time the Xfinity Series drivers were on track, we were at the Nashville Super Speedway. That saw Reagan DeFeo pick her way through the field at least one car at a time. That enabled her to get her third win of the season and made history in the process by becoming the first woman in WRLA Xfinity Series history to win 3 races in one season. And as we take a look at the point standings, she has definitely put herself in a pretty good spot. 29 points behind points leader Ray Atikian. With obviously he has 332 points. Reagan DeFeo with 303. She is 29 points behind. Then you have John Andrews and Thomas Jericho. Of course, Jericho would get John Boyd, not John Andrews. I do apologize for that. But Boyd in third with Jericho in fourth. Obviously, Jericho would get the tiebreaker because of his win at Talladega. So that would slot Boyd in the fourth position. Campbell Marsh, our winner from Chicagoland, rounds out your top 5 with 268. Then 266 for Alexander Rowe, 262 for Ryan Kendall, 249 for Sam Robinson, 248 for Erica Douglas, and our Las Vegas winner, Kasumi Takashi, with 238. Do apologize, had to sneeze there a little bit, but here's a look at the rest of your point standings coming in. Of course, some drivers that definitely needed some good runs at Nashville, they definitely got them. Eric Blaze definitely doing a fantastic job. Actually, wait a minute. These are not the correct points. At least I don't believe so. But at least I'm not really seeing that. Potentially, I might have used the wrong points. I hope I didn't. But if I did, I do massively apologize for grabbing the wrong points. Actually, hold on. I might have made a little boo-boo here. We're definitely going to go ahead and get that fixed up here. But because Eric Blaze is 11th in the point standings, there is the corrected points bracket. But you see Blaze 12th and 11th in the points standings. Obviously, he's having himself a pretty good rebound this season after getting off to a horrible start at Daytona and also not having good runs to open up the year at Daytona, Minnesota, etc. Josiah Munsell is up there along with Nick Martin. Joshua Neely, he had himself a pretty good start to the Nashville race last week, but unfortunately fell back quite a ways after pit stops, and he got relegated to not the best of finishes, but he does get a good starting spot here for tonight. The drivers that definitely needed a good run, Haley Curris in the 44 definitely got himself a good top 10 finish. Or a good top 5 rather last weekend, and that was definitely a good result that she needed in order to accumulate a little bit more points coming into this one. Don't mind the the frames are definitely dropping, but hopefully that does fix itself. Hopefully it corrects itself by the time that we get this race started. That's usually what happens whenever you're tabbed out of NR 2003 for a certain length of time. But there's a look at your starting lineup. It is Reagan Whitlock on the pole position, Joshua Neely lining up alongside Eric Blaze and Campbell Marsh. They make up the second row, with Dana Mon and Bobby McGuire in row number 3, Austin Kane and Sam Robinson in row 4, Marcus Sachi, Carter Belair in the 5th row, with Ray Atikian and Justin Ingleham. Then you have Jordan Sumner and Vanessa Gilbreth in the number 91 in row 7. Reagan DeFeo, our last week's winner, and Ryan Davis in row 8, Marion Judicia, Harun Kankoy-Loglu in row 9, and Sarah Taylor, and actually Kasumi Takashi, and then Sarah Taylor, who won at Talladega in the Truck Series. They complete your top 20. Then you have Nick Martin, Haley Curris, Celeste Lace, Stephen Walker, Brock Nelson, Josiah Munsell, Alexander Rowe, Derek Hamill, and then you have Thomas Jericho, John Boyd, Sebastian Cucalon, Ajax Fitzgerald, Igor Barreto, Erica Douglas, Steve Morgan, Ryan Kendall, Will Parrish, Noah Cars, and then your provisional starters of Kenny Shremy and Emmanuel Hartnett. Hartnett just came from Indianapolis Raceway Park, just down the street from here. So it's definitely going to be a very topsy-turvy kind of day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We go from the short track of IRP to the 2.5-mile historic facility of the Brickyard. It's time to go racing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And to begin the main course for WRLA festivities, the drivers are strapped into their cars. Pre-race ceremonies are just now starting to wrap up, but in order to get these 40 behemoths rolling on the track, we got to get the command to fire the engines. So let's go trackside and get just that.
Drivers, start your engines!
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Engines are fired. Pace car is rolling off, and so are these 40 competitors. The frames should get better with time here, so don't be too worried if the frames do kind of drop from every now and then. But we are getting ready to go racing. 56 laps of action here at the Brickyard. That's definitely the closest that we can get to 40 laps. The Truck Series was here back in May for their Indiana Bash. That race was won by Liam Davis, and there's probably a good opportunity that we'll see him here later tonight. One other thing that I'm going to go ahead and do here before we continue on, the engine sounds might be a tad bit too loud, so we're going to go ahead and turn those down here. Just to be on the safe side. But ladies and gentlemen, as we are halfway down the back straightaway, getting ready to start the Pennzoil 250 for our 13th outing here in the WRLA Xfinity Series. So glad that you could be here with us here for the first ever race here in the WRLA Xfinity Series. We had the NOS Energy Cup Series here last year. Emily Anderson went on to take the checkered flag for her second win of the season at that time. But we are getting ready to go from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Reagan Whitlock, who has not had herself the best of seasons here, she is definitely going to be starting on the pole position in the 54, and Joshua Neely lines up alongside. Walker Family Motorsports. Wyatt Walker's definitely been the talk of the town, obviously winning at Anderson Speedway. He finished 13th in the Truck Series race. Now he's here as an owner, as Reagan Whitlock and Joshua Neely. They're going to bring the field down to get the party started here at the Brickyard. Fantastic start for Reagan Whitlock as she jumps out in front, and Eric Blaze moves into the second position. Dana Mon moves to third, and Joshua Neely didn't get off to the best of starts as he drops to fourth in car number 1. Kane and Marsh are single file, with Kane completing the top 5, and here they come to complete the first lap of action. That will be led by Reagan Whitlock. She'll pick up that first bonus point here for tonight. Campbell Marsh, not Marsh, but Dana Mon to the inside of Eric Blaze. That's for the second position. Austin Kane and then Campbell Marsh in the 18. They're going to follow as they come off of turn number 2 and head down the back straightaway at full song. You also have Marcus Sachi in car number 14, currently scored in that 7th position. Points leader Ray Atikian running in 8th, and then you have Jordan Sumner 9th and Reagan DeFeo rounding out your top 10 early in the going. But Eric Blaze, who started 3rd in this race, man, he is in trouble, as now he'll be falling under the clutches of Ray Atikian, who goes down to the inside and will capture that 7th spot. And I don't think Blaze will be done losing spots yet. There goes Sumner to the inside for that 8th position. Mary Judicia in the number 31. Looks like she'll kick that number 8 of Eric Blaze to the curb. And here comes Bobby McGuire, actually. Big crash on the back straightaway off of turn number 2. That was Stephen Walker, who just went airborne. And you also have Josiah Munsell and also the 41 of John Boyd. How in the world, by the way, was that not a caution? That was a huge incident that we saw coming out of turn number 2, but how in the world that didn't cause a yellow, I'll never know. As we stay green, Reagan Whitlock pulls out to about a half a second advantage. But as far as Ray Atikian goes, he currently is in the 6th position. They're going to try to knock on the door of the top 5 as they race right on by the accident scene that just happened 1 lap ago between Boyd, Walker, and as well as, I believe it was, not Mary Judicia. I can't remember who it was anymore. We'll definitely have to take a look at that incident the moment that we get a caution, or by the end of the race. But what? That was definitely not the way that several of these contenders were looking to try to end their day, especially with some of them in the pit area. And I do believe we might have just had a retiree. We'll definitely know once we cycle through the ticker. Going from 31st to 40th, and Walker and Boyd currently 1 lap down. It actually was Josiah Munsell who was involved in that incident. He is well off the pace, and Joshua Neely getting pretty racy here in car number 1 as he slides up in front of the 14 of Marcus Sachi. 4-car breakaway between Whitlock, Amon, Neely, and Sachi. 5th place currently is occupied by Ray Atikian in the number 20. Judicia right there in 6th. Eric Blaze in the number 8, currently slotted in the 8th position. managed to pick up a couple of positions since being trapped on the outside for as long as he had. Remember, Blaze started this race in the 3rd position and fell back a decent ways, but been able to regather it and currently running in that 8th spot as we come around to complete the six out of the scheduled 56 laps here for tonight. As Judicia makes her move underneath of Rayatikian, Dana Mon makes his move underneath of Reagan Whitlock for the race lead. As they're coming up on John Boyd in the 41, who is well off the pace and is currently 40th, 1 lap down in the number 41 machine. And that is definitely a tough break for John Boyd, who came into this race top 5 in the point standings and comes down in front of Marcus Sachi and almost takes him out. Oh my goodness, that could have been absolutely catastrophic, but Sachi will break away with the top spot, but probably isn't going to escape without any sort of damage. We might have to keep an eye on that 14, see if there's going to be any sort of extended time in the pits. But regardless of that, Sachi breaks away by about 7/10 over Reagan Whitlock, and Neely sits in 3rd, while John Boyd continues to hold up just about the rest of the field and stacks them up as they go into turn 1. To the inside goes Thomas Jericho, who sits 8th in this event. How about oh no! This is going to bring out a caution. Bobby Maguire. Holy cow. Several other cars collected. That's Vanessa Gilbreth in the 91. Alexander Rowe in the 2. Heavy damage, as well as Carter Belair. Caution on the speedway. And that race is going to be won by the 14 of Marcus Sachi. But what a vicious ride that Bobby Maguire just took on the back straightaway coming off of turn number 2, as that car absolutely just launched up into the air, and several cars wound up getting collected. Again, one of them being Vanessa Gilbreth in the number 91. Heavy damage to the front end of her Chevrolet Accessories Camaro. But my goodness gracious. First caution of the night. It falls about a 1/7 of the way through the Pennzoil 250, and it even gets more damage, Gilbreth does, as she runs into the back of Sarah Taylor. Curtis runs into the back of Munsell. You also had Justin Ingleham in the 53 get a considerable amount of damage as well. But, my goodness gracious. Looks like Gilbreth, if that doesn't take her out of the race, it definitely will take her out of contention of a potential top 5. As you see, Alexander Rowe will be the first retiree of the night here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Bobby Maguire may join here shortly, and as well as the 51 of Carter Belair. He will unfortunately smell what the Rock was cooking, but it looks like everybody is going to be staying out, with the exception of everybody that wound up getting involved in that wreck or even on the cooldown lap in some capacity or another. But your race leader, regardless of that, is the number 14 of Marcus Sachi. But another thing that we're going to do, actually, I think just to be on the safe side, to avoid a potential game crash, especially with the frames dropping as much as they are, we are definitely going to review the accidents at the end of the race. So just hang tight and enjoy the action here for the Pennzoil 250 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Working our first caution for those that are just now tuning in for a huge crash that happened coming out of turn number 2 that involved drivers such as Bobby Maguire, who is making a start here for tonight, Vanessa Gilbreth as well, and even Alexander Rowe, who had been running oh so good in the point standings. Unfortunately, All those cars are done, as well as Carter Belair, our Michigan winner, who is out of this race due to the engine issues that he had sustained in that crash on lap number 8. But again, as we're currently taking a little bit of a breather, Soda, thank you so much for the 5-stream streak. Greatly do appreciate you. And also Shay, how we doing? Hopefully you're having yourself a good weekend so far as well. Psycho, again, thank you so much for stopping on by. Same goes to YouTube Passion as well as Phoenix. Anybody that's currently watching over on the Twitch side, Mama Dino as well. Welcome on in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to some WRLA Xfinity Series racing from the Brickyard here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, we've had ourselves a pretty great week thus far with some good short track racing, starting off at the Anderson Speedway. Just racing all together here in the state of Indiana. Of course, we raced at the Anderson Speedway for the WRLA Hoosier Summer Tour. Wyatt Walker went on to win that event in very dominating fashion. Managed to collect obviously the bonus point for leading a lap, the 10 bonus points for winning the race, but also the 5 bonus points for leading the most laps in the process. So he moved himself into championship conversation over in the Hoosier Summer Tour. And then last night in the Menards Truck Series race, Wayne Lopez went on to victory lane for the second time in the Menards Truck Series season after getting the pit strategy on Addison Jarrell, who had essentially dominated the event after starting on the pole. But still, here we are today for Xfinity Series racing. The action has definitely been fantastic so far. Again, still working our first caution after a huge crash that just happened coming off of turn number 2. And for those that are coming in and are wanting to see a replay, just hang tight, stick around. Because of the frame droppage that we're currently experiencing in some parts of the track, I don't really want to take too much of a risk of going back and rewinding because it's happened in the past, you know, where we would rewind and try to take a look at replays and the game would just wind up crashing at least 30 seconds later. So for the safety of obviously not compromising the race, we're definitely going to take a look at some replays once this race concludes. But definitely a very interesting situation that had developed as well, with John Boyd being sort of the Achilles heel to several of these contenders. Obviously, Marcus Sacchi benefited out of that. Not without damage, of course, or at least whatever damage he might have sustained. It hasn't really hindered the performance of this Wendy Chevy, so he's definitely good to go. But Ray Atikian, who had been running inside of the top 5, really top 10 area all day at the beginning stages of the race, he faded back to 21st after being held up by John Boyd. So it should be very interesting to see if Atikian will be able to pick his way through the field here on this restart. What will also be interesting to see is how are these contenders going to deal with this slower traffic of John Boyd and Stephen Walker as they line up on the inside line for this restart. And there you see our 4 retirees of Gilbert, Belair, McGuire, and Rowe. So 36 cars left on track, with 34 of them on the lead lap. So your race leader, as we get ready to restart this event on lap number 13, it is Marcus Sacchi who leads the charge, with Reagan Whitlock in second, Joshua Neely in third, Marion Judicia is in fourth, Eric Blaze completes your top 5, followed by Kasumi Takashi running in the 6th position, Campbell Marsh running in 7th, Thomas Jericho 8th, Brock Nelson 9th, and Harun Khan Koiloglu, he completes your top 10. As the field comes down off of turn number 4, pace car is going to make the dive onto pit lane. And Sacchi who is in control of this race, is going to bring the field back down for the restart on lap number 13 of the scheduled 56. Here we go. And Sachi gets a great jump on that restart. Pulled out by at least a third of a second over Reagan Whitlock as they head back down into turn number 1. And already, the 41 and the 66 definitely being a little bit of an Achilles heel for all of our contenders, as they are definitely getting absolutely held up by especially John Boyd. Not so much Stephen Walker, but Boyd definitely holding everybody up as of right now. But our top 10 have all checked out from the rest of the field that are getting held up by the slower traffic. And Sachi continues to show the way. Eric Blaze to the inside, contesting for that 4th position. Judicia getting a good run around the outside, but Blaze will rocket around down to the bottom and take that 4th position away as they come off of turn number 2. How about Sebastian Cucalon in the number 25 as he jumps out into the 11th position. Sam Robinson, who had been pretty consistent all season thus far, is shown in the 12th position. Will Parrish in the 28, currently shown 13th. How about this for the NS Racing entry here? Not on the same zip code, unfortunately, as was Kasumi Takashi is, winning at Las Vegas. She definitely got herself a pretty good result over there. But as far as, you know, with what we've seen out of Will Parrish, it unfortunately hasn't been able to... he unfortunately hasn't been able to replicate that same sort of performance that Takashi's been able to put together. But here he is here running inside of the top 15 and doing a very nice job. But you also saw a change on the ticker as Reagan Whitlock took the race lead right away from the 14 of Marcus Sachi, who falls to 4th. And Jericho, our winner from Talladega, rounds out your top 5 with 15 laps complete here in the Pennzoil 250. Got the Lone Walker Family Motorsports car, at least at the front of the field. Campbell Marsh marred back into the 8th position. Our winner from Chicagoland. And there's basically the aftermath of what happened with the field that got held up by John Boyd and the 66 of Stephen Walker. Just absolutely strung everybody out and spread them all out in the process, but that definitely hasn't meant too much in terms of, you know, this potential fight that's brewing up here for the race lead, as Neely all over the back bumper. But Eric Blaze definitely in it for himself. He definitely wants to get himself back in the top 10 in the point standings, or at least get in there for the first time this season. He goes to the inside of Neely, and that's going to cost him 2 positions. Neely falls to 4th. Brock Nelson moving up into the 5th position. He competed in last night's truck race, so he's coming from Indianapolis Raceway Park, just down the street from here. And here comes Sachi back down to the inside of Eric Blaze as they head back through turn number 4. While all of that is happening, this is allowing the 54 of Reagan Whitlock to check out by now 2/3 of a second. And so far, that definitely is the thing that Reagan Whitlock has been wanting for quite some time. Sachi now is officially going to capture that runner-up position and will bring Brock Nelson with him. Thomas Jericho now moves up into 4th. Now, and Blaze trapped on the outside, and now he'll start to slip back from 5th, now down to 6th, now 7th. Neely also in trouble as well. So both of the Death Rider racing cars that are inside of the top 10, they're starting to fade back just a little bit, but still in contention inside this top 10. Marsh moves up into the 5th position for the Walker Family Motorsports stable. But how about this, though? Ray Atikian, after getting held up by John Boyd before that first caution came out, he has picked up 2 spots since the restart. He's up to 19th. Blaze falls back to 10th. And that second pack that's being led by Sebastian Kukulon is slowly starting to catch up. As far as, especially to these two right here, with Koiloglu in the 42 and Eric Blaze in the 8, they're fighting side by side for that 9th position. Koiloglu is going to have it. And Eric Blaze looks like he's just going to let him take that position, at least for the time being, because he knows that that second pack that's being led by the 25 of Sebastian Kukulon is starting to creep into the picture. HX Fitzgerald in that number 88, making his way down to the inside, or at least making an attempt to do so. Fitzgerald having himself a pretty nice run here, as he's currently, again, sitting in that 12th position, doing a very fantastic job. Now goes to the inside of Kukulon for the 11th spot. This has not been the best season for Ajax Fitzgerald whatsoever, as he has just been absolutely struggling throughout the year. But here in this race, now moving up into the 11th position and closing in on what could be a top 10 if he's able to keep this run going. Another thing that we'll have to keep an eye on, potentially, as we get just a little bit later into this run, is pit stops. When will these drivers make that left-hand turn off the racing surface and onto pit lane to begin their one and potentially their one and only round of green flag pit stops? That could happen right around lap 25-ish. Because of that caution that came out on lap number 8, that definitely had thrown a monkey wrench into the pit strategies and allowed these drivers to save a little bit more fuel especially under that caution period. So we're just gonna have to wait and see how much further these drivers are able to go. But my guess would be right around the lap 23 to 25 window. That is gonna be my guess. Here comes Campbell Marsh underneath of Marcus Sachi, who managed to grab the lead away from Reagan Whitlock on that last lap around. And now Marsh to the inside for the top spot, coming off of turn number 2, or turn 1, now off the short straight into turn number 2. New race leader, it's Campbell Marsh in the number 18. Looking for his second win of the season. He won at Chicagoland last June, and looking to try to cap off the month of July with another win, this time at the Brickyard. Reagan Whitlock trying to get her first win here in the Xfinity Series. Not at herself the best of seasons so far, but she's definitely looking to try to go to victory lane here tonight. Won the pole for this event and has basically been hanging around inside of the top 5, top 10 area all night long thus far, as we are close to halfway in the Pennzoil 250 from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But Whitlock just got shoved up to the outside, or at least put up there, by Marcus Sachi. So now Whitlock is going to lose 2 positions and will fall to 4th. Joshua Neely in the 1. Looking to try to make something happen. Koiloglu looking to try to make it 3 wide. That is not a wise choice. And I would expect pit stops to be coming up this time by... maybe not, actually. Thought it would have happened, but just not the case. He's Quayloglu now starting to hold up Eric Blaze and Brock Nelson from that 7th spot as they head back down into turn 1. Fitzgerald now up inside of the top 10 for the first time tonight. Now moving up into 9th. And this is where a lot of the action is currently at, right in the middle of this group. Parrish to the inside of Brock Nelson as they head down the back straightaway. How about Derek Hamill, the number 19? Now starting to get a little bit closer to the top 10. And also involved in that mix is Ray Atikian in car number 20, as he's starting to creep back into the picture as well. Picked up 2 more spots since the last time we've checked in with him. And Hamill running in 13th right now. I'm going to move up into the 12th position as he gets by Brock Nelson. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Marsh still leading the charge with 25 laps complete, coming to 26 this time around. In that mix is also the 31 of Marion Judicia, Kasumi Takashi in 3rd, Sachi 4th, and Whitlock completes your top 5 as they come off of turn number 4. Still no takers. Kind of shocked by that, as you know, in this current stage. But they are closing in on John Boyd yet again as he makes his way down to towards the halfway point of the back straightaway. These drivers are working their way through turn 2. But hopefully by the time that they catch Boyd, they'll be starting with their green flag pit stops. That's just the hope. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed as of right now. Make their way through turn number 4. And still no takers. Got a little bit of fighting for track position. That's Nick Martin in the 78. Duking it out here with Brock Nelson in the 74. And Nelson looks like he's going to get that spot over Nick Martin. And that opens up the door for Ray Atikian to drive to the inside to take over that position. That would be for 16th. Nelson pulls away. You also have the 20 of the 00 of Ryan Kendall in the 21st position. Now probably going to lose that spot to Reagan DeFeo, who is runner-up in the point standings. But, you know, for Reagan, for Ryan Kendall, it's obviously a huge deal to be back here. He won the Indianapolis 100 when we were still running that back in 2022. Of course, you'll see a full race replay of that in next year's month of May festivities. So that definitely was a hell of a time. But we're definitely looking to try, and Kendall might potentially go to victory lane here if he's able to play his cards right with the pit stops. But we're coming up on Boyd again. And oh boy, Takashi to the inside of the 41 as they come off of turn number 3. Whitlock now trapped behind the 41. And now Whitlock is just going to fall way back. This is going to allow everybody to cycle on around, but Boyd trying to do his best to get out of the way, but he couldn't because he would have been blocking the 88 of Ajax Fitzgerald. Hamill gets through, as does Thomas Jericho, along with Sachi and Blaze, Stremme, and as well as the one of Joshua Neely. But what this is also doing is that this is pulling in everybody else that had been trapped behind Boyd even to begin with. This is pulling them back into the mix. Marsh trying to take the race lead away from the outside line. Managed to get a good run heading it down the back straightaway. Wasn't able to carry that momentum through turns 3 and 4. So that gives Kasumi Takashi back the race lead. Marion Judicia now moves up into second. Koiloglu to third. Fitzgerald to fourth. And how about Derek Hamill inside of the top 10 for the first time tonight? This is actually a very good run out of the 19 team of Derek Hamill. And definitely the refreshing run that he needed here for this race. And if everything goes accordingly, it definitely will be a very good points day for the 19 team of Derek Hamill. That will also put a smile on Wyatt Walker's face because he knows how much this 19 has struggled all throughout the 2026 season. Just trying to find speed and trying to replicate that. He had it at Charlotte, arguably enough. He had it at Charlotte just a couple of months ago before getting caught up in a crash. I believe just shy of the halfway mark, or at least a little ways past it. But now, Hamill runs 6th, Marsh in 7th. Reagan Whitlock has fallen outside of the top 10. She is shown in 11th. Rhea Tikian still in the 16th position. 25 laps to go, now 24 this time. Takashi still leads it. And NS Racing, man, this would be awesome to see an NS Racing car go to victory lane. It obviously wouldn't be Nathan Stapleton behind the wheel of this car. But with Kasumi Takashi driving it, you know it would be absolutely special for Stapleton to see one of his cars win here in Indiana. He didn't get this week off to a good start when we were at Anderson Speedway. He got involved in a wreck coming to the caution flag in the Hoosier Summer Tour race that ultimately killed any sort of chances of him winning. But now here he is as an owner, looking on, watching his car lead the way with Koiloglu just all over the 39, coming off of turn 1 and into turn number 2. Koiloglu, I believe, and say what you want about this 42. This is the best that Harun Khan Koiloglu has performed all year long. This 42 would normally not be in this position to where they could go for their first win or even try to challenge for this race lead, which is exactly what's happening here. But this Koiloglu just has not had a great season at all this year. Had been running in the back for a majority of the event, for the majority of every event of the season, and had just proceeded to be in everybody's way almost every single race. But Koiloglu has been almost flawless here tonight, as now he leads for the first time at Indianapolis. Jericho moves into second, and Takashi slips back into third. Reagan Whitlock back inside of the top 10. In car number 54, Kenny Stremme also appearing inside of the top 10 for the first time tonight. Coming to 21 to go, and pit stops. Getting ready to start. Judicia leads him down with Neely, Fitzgerald, also the 54 of Reagan Whitlock. Probably going to be easier to tell you about the cars that stayed out. Jericho was one, Koiloglu was another, as well as Kasumi Takashi, so our leaders stayed out. That's for sure. Sachi still in fourth. Stremme also stayed out as well. But now we're getting ready to see these drivers come on down to pit lane, as we're going to be watching from our pit cam. And here they come. Jericho leads them down. Steve Morgan also pits in as well. But my goodness gracious, this is definitely going to be a very interesting complexion. A very interesting change as to, you know, who may come out with the lead. There's also a chance that they may come out with the win. I mean, it's still a possibility. Anything is possible. Even though I kind of just said the same thing twice, but you get what I mean. But Judicia is out ahead of the 88 of Ajax Fitzgerald. And there goes our leaders as they make their way back on the racetrack. Jericho is in turn 2 right now with Koiloglu. And there's Miriam Judicia coming up on the back bumper of the 42, at least trying to catch up. And coming in with a full rate of steam, full head of steam as they head into the third corner. And Judicia, who won the 2018 running of the Indianapolis 100, is now looking to try to get her first win in the WRLA Xfinity Series here tonight. And another win in almost a decade here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. She ducks low on the 42 to take over the runner-up spot. Fitzgerald in the 88 will follow. So with 19 laps to go, this round of green flag pit stops is complete. These drivers should be good to go the rest of the way. And how about this? Thomas Jericho, our winner from Talladega, leads it with Miriam Judicia is now in second. Fitzgerald in third, Koiloglu in fourth, Derek Hamill rounds out your top 5. Then it's Joshua Neely in sixth, Kenny Stremme in seventh, Sebastian Kukulon in eighth, Erica Douglas ninth, and Brock Nelson rounds out your top 10. With now 18 laps to go. The fight for the lead and potentially the win is more than likely gonna come down between these 4 contenders. And there goes Miriam Judicia to the inside for the top position as they head through turn number 3 and into the 4th corner. The next car that these drivers would catch up to is Haley Curris. She's on the front straightaway now. And while all 4 of these drivers are duking it out side by side for position, Judicia managed to lead that lap over Jericho as they headed back down into turn number 1. So Judicia manages to clear Thomas Jericho for that top spot. He falls back to 4th, and a change of hands for the 5th position. And it looks like Derek Hamill is setting up for the crossover there on Joshua Neely, who took over that 5th spot coming out of turn 2. Good stuff that we're seeing out of these 2 cars right here. They head down the front straightaway, full song. They're also catching up to the 44 of Curris, who are now all basically within the same vicinity. And if these drivers do get held up by the 44 just for long enough, that may pull Stremme, Hamill, and even Neely, who are now fighting it out for track position, for position. That's going to pull them into the mix. Depends on how long they get held up by this 44. Here we go. They've caught up to Curris as they come out of turn number 4, heading down the front straightaway with now 15 laps of racing to go. Judicia peaks low. Koiloglu will follow. Jericho and now Fitzgerald looks like is going to stay in the tire tracks of the other 3 contenders, so they will have no problems getting by the 44 of Haley Curris at all. The next car they'll catch up to is the 66 of Stephen Walker, but he's heading into turn 4 right now. 14 to go. It is all Chevrolets in this 4-horse race. The highest running Toyota is Derek Hamill. He's running in the 5th position. And the highest running Ford, you'd have to go back to Kasumi Takashi, running in the 15th position. And how about Celesta Lace in the number 21, currently with the fastest lap of the race with a 47.907. Very impressive out of Celesta Lace. 13 to go. And Jericho makes his move to the inside of Harun Khan Koiloglu. They're also pulling away from the 3-horse fight for P5. They're now pulling out by at least 3 seconds over these 3 cars right here. Stremme, Hamill, and Neely get by Curtis without a problem. But Marion Judicia in the 31 now starting to pull away by now a half a second, as they're now starting to catch up to Boyd and as well as Stephen Walker once again. Heading back through turn 3. And this might be a little bit tougher for these 4 to get by the other 2 slower cars as they come out of turn 4, heading down the front straightaway. They're side by side. Walker gets by, but they're coming up on, but they're getting caught here with a full head of steam from Judicia, Jericho, Fitzgerald, and as well as Koiloglu heading into turn number 2. They're going to catch him in a bad spot. Judicia cuts low. Oh, and Jericho almost tried to go to the outside. That would not have been a good choice at all out of Jericho. So he stays glued to the back bumper of the 31. Meanwhile, Koiloglu to the inside, or at least going to try to get to the inside of the 88. Didn't have a good enough run going into turn 4. But 5th through 7th has managed to close the gap at least by 7/10 as they get by Stephen Walker without a problem. And now these guys get held up by John Boyd. So now all that work, all that progress that they had made essentially was for what? As they get held up by John Boyd while they're still going to duke it out for the 5th position. Meanwhile, up front, Jericho to the inside of Marion Judicia to take over the lead, heading through turn 4. There'll be 10 fingers in the air, 10 laps of racing to go from the Brickyard in Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They're going to be side by side down the front straightaway. Give that lap to Jericho as they head across the stripe. Ajax Fitzgerald in the 88 now moves up into the 2nd position. And look at this progress. How about 5th through 7th? As they're now starting to pull up into the picture. 1.3 seconds is the difference while they're all fighting it out for position. Judicia to the inside of Fitzgerald. That's for the runner-up spot. Jericho now starting to pull away by 1/3 of a second over the other 3 cars right behind him. And you look at it from this shot, and Stremme is almost there as he pulls along Derek Hamill and Joshua Neely. Marion Judicia now successfully moves up back into the second position, bringing Koiloglu with her. But now look at this. Kenny Stremme has done it. He has caught the front four and brought along Hamill and Neely. So Walker Family Motorsports will now have a chance to win this race. And now Death Rider Racing has 2 chances to win. But up front, it is still Thomas Jericho, now pulling away by 0.8 of a second. Over now Koiloglu, who is absolutely holding up both lines. And Fitzgerald trying to do everything he can to pounce. You also got Derek Hamill to the inside of Judicia. That's for 4th. Neely moves up into 5th. 2/3 of a second is the difference between the 42 and the 4. Now Fitzgerald moves to the inside in the number 88. Hamill commits low, as does the 1 of Joshua Neely as they come off of turn number 4. 7 laps to go. Jericho loving what he sees in his rearview mirror as they're continuing to fight side by side. Jericho still out front by now at least 1 second. They are 3 wide. Derek Hamill really starting to make some noise in the 19 as he moves up into the runner-up spot. And my, oh my, this is interesting. Now Derek Hamill moves up into 2nd place. Koiloglu slips back into 3rd. Neely trying to move up into the 4th spot. And Marion Judicia trying to get back into contention inside of the top 5. 6 laps to go. And there goes Koiloglu to the inside for the runner-up spot. Easily takes it away from Derek Hamill. Hamill tucks in 3rd. The only other thing that Thomas Jericho does not want to see, especially at this juncture of the event, is a caution flag. If we get one within 3 laps to go, I don't think he would really care. And the only reason why I say that is because if we get a caution within 3 to 4 laps to go, the race would be deemed official and Jericho would walk away with the win. 5 laps to go. And if things kind of keep up the way that they are right now, it looks like Jericho may walk away with this win. Regardless if we get a yellow flag or not. 1.1 seconds is the current difference between Derek Hamill and Thomas Jericho. Judicia in 3rd, Stremme 4th, Koiloglu and Ajax Fitzgerald, they're fighting it out for the 5th position. And from the 7th spot, Joshua Neely looks on. Now commits to the inside with his teammate. 4 laps to go. They're starting to close in on the 4 of Jericho, but Judicia makes her move to the inside. That gap shrunk a little bit down to 0.8 of a second, but now it opens back up to a 1 second advantage. As Judicia moves back into the runner-up spot, Kenny Stremme has entered the chat as he moves into 3rd. Hamill may have a shot to get that 3rd spot back as they head down the front straightaway. This time around, 3 laps to go from Indianapolis. So far, we've only had 1 caution here tonight. That happened at the very beginning of the race on lap number 8. So you will see exactly how that transpired at the conclusion of this race. And don't forget, folks, tomorrow night will be our main event, the WRLA NOS Energy Cup Series Brickyard 400. That definitely is going to be a fun one. Green flag flies at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live over here on Twitch. It's definitely going to be fun, and we're hoping that you guys are able to tune in to see that show. Emily Anderson won last year's running, and we'll be finding out to see if she'll be able to defend her Brickyard 400 win. 2 fingers in the air, 2 laps of racing to go from here at Indianapolis. And that 31 of Mary Judicia has now shrunk down that lead by 0.4 of a second. Now a third. Hamill in third. Fitzgerald in fourth. Neely the top 5. Coming down the back straightaway, a lap and a half to go. Our leaders have caught Thomas Jericho. And as they make their way down into turns 3 and 4 this time around, Judicia, Hamill, Fitzgerald, they're going to have one more chance on this final lap coming up. With Thomas Jericho leading the charge, will he be leading? Coming back to the checkers, let's find out. 1 to go from here at Indianapolis. Fitzgerald's not waiting. He's making his move underneath of Derek Hamill for the 3rd position. Judicia right there on the back bumper, at least 1/10 behind the 4 of Thomas Jericho. Down the back straightaway one last time. Judicia's going to have to send it in going into turn 3, maybe even turn 4. But I don't think it's going to be enough, honestly. Judicia pulls up, but I think the deal is sealed. They come off of turn number 4. Win number 2 of the season comes here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Thomas Jericho wins here at Indy. Marion Judicia is going to come home in 2nd. Derek Hamill will finish in 3rd. Ajax Fitzgerald in 4th. Joshua Neely rounds out your top 5. Then Harun Kankoyloglu finishes in 6th. In 7th will be Kenny Stremme. Brock Nelson will finish in 8th. In 9th will be... Actually, now it updated. There we go. So Fitzgerald will finish in 3rd, Neely 4th, Koyloglu completes your top 5, then Kenny Stremme in 6th, Hamill will finish in 7th, Brock Nelson in 8th, Kasumi Takashi will finish in 9th, and Sebastian Kukulon rounds out your top 10. But 2nd win of the season for Thomas Jericho here at the Brickyard. But great racing that we just saw from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Had a couple of big crashes. We'll go back and look at those here shortly. But you take a look at the rest of your results. There's our only 4 retirees of Gilbreth, Belair, McGuire, and Rowe. Only 33 cars finished on the lead lap, with 3 more finishing a lap down or more. But it has been a fantastic night here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Big congratulations to Thomas Jericho on getting the job done here at the Brickyard. Let's now show you exactly what happened at the very beginning part of this race. We're going to go ahead and save the replay real fast. And then also on top of that, we're going to... We also need to export the results before we go ahead and do anything else. But my goodness gracious here, ladies and gentlemen, great action that we saw here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again, only 1 caution here in this event, but it definitely was a fun one regardless of that. My goodness gracious. So, with that said, let's go back and review what happened. To the 2 crashes that happened at the beginning of the race. Let's start out with the first one that didn't bring out a caution flag. This actually started heading into turn number 2. We're going to follow along with the 66 of Stephen Walker as they head into turn number 2. You got Josiah Munsell right behind him. And then look at this. I think Munsell looks like he tried to commit to the bottom, but John Boyd was there and he just drove into turn 2 way too hot, slides up into the 48, and they just go up and collect Stephen Walker, and around they go. All 3 cars hard hit into the outside wall, with Walker and Boyd getting airborne as they exited turn number 2. So that was what ultimately took them out of contention here for the race win and a potential good finish for all 3 of those contenders. But now, as they continued on here in this event, now let's show you exactly what happened to Bobby McGuire that ended his night early here at the Brickyard. It was right around here. Probably a similar situation to what we saw with Munsell, Walker, and as well as John Boyd. Watch this, heading down into turn number 2. Yep, definitely very similar to what we saw with Bel Air trying to get to the bottom, but Haley Curtis is already there. And that forces the 51 up the racetrack. And Curtis and McGuire kind of just sandwich the 51 up, and they just come together. And ultimately, it's on from there. Look at the air and the height that oh my goodness gracious. That 5 just had coming out of turn number 2. And McGuire just goes tumbling down the back straightaway. See Vanessa Gilbert and the 91 get collected. But that is some air that Bobby McGuire had. And there's where Alexander Rowe unfortunately got knocked out of the race. Miraculously, he is able to save the car and was able to continue on, but he just continued that car straight back into the pits and called it a night here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Let's take a look at this in full speed and just watch how high this car just got. My goodness. Absolutely tumbling down the back straightaway. That is a wild, wild ride for Bobby McGuire. Just absolutely stunning pictures that we had just seen here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude festivities for Xfinity Series festivities, specifically for WRLA Xfinity Series. I already said that, but for here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the next time you'll see the Xfinity Series contenders, they will be at the Darlington Raceway, I do believe, if I actually go back and take a look at the schedule here. More than likely, it's probably going to be Kansas, actually. So the next time you'll see the Xfinity Series contenders, they will be racing at the Kansas Speedway for the first time on the 14th of August at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's definitely going to be a lot of fun, and we're really hoping that you guys are able to join us for that. And then we also have the WRLA NOS Energy Cup Series this tomorrow night here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Brickyard 400. That's definitely going to be fun, and we're hoping that you guys are able to tune in to that one. And ladies and gentlemen, one more time, congratulations to Thomas Jericho on getting his 2nd win of the season from here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Thank you guys a lot for watching this event. If you guys like this, be sure to hit the follow button on Twitch. That way you don't miss a future stream. And if you guys are watching over on the YouTube side, if you like what you see, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to consider subscribing in order to keep up with all the WRLA content throughout the 2026 season. And if you are in the WRLA Discord, be sure to keep an eye on the point standings when the premiere concludes. And that's going to do it for us. Have yourself a great rest of your night. Take care, stay safe, and we will see you all tomorrow night for the main event, the Brickyard 400 for the WRLA NOS Energy Cup Series. This WRLA telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without any authorized written consent of 11 Broadcasting. WRLA would like to thank all of our loyal fans for their continued support, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.